Yesterday was a busy day for Call of Duty. Yesterday we ended up seeing Modern Warfare 3 being backwards compatible for the Xbox One. We ended up seeing that we ended up getting our first teaser and actual full trailer for DLC 3 United Front, of that coming this upcoming Tuesday, the 26th of June. And then we also ended up getting a little bit of a hotfix and slight update to Call of Duty World War II, in which we're going to be talking about that here today. So there's a lot to touch on here today with this one, so we're going to break it all down for you to show you everything that really changed with yesterday's Call of Duty World War II update, to not only kick off the final week of the Attack of the Undead event, but also to actually change some things here and there within the game. So that said, let's just jump right into it. Let's firstly start out by talking about the calendar of events here within Call of Duty World War II for this final week that did update as of yesterday. So as it stands right now, we have about 6 days left until the event ends, and then also that these things will still be active and then going away throughout the week, and also just a few separate days throughout the event itself. So that said, let's talk a little bit about the game modes, because firstly, there is not necessarily anything brand new. The past couple of weeks we've had things introduced intermittently, in which we first saw Infected, then that stayed and we saw Horde Point come, and then that stayed, and then we had all three this past week, in which we had the featured mode being Relic of the Undead, but we still had Horde Point and Infected. That's still going to be the same thing here throughout this, but we also then have double XP in Relic of the Undead, Horde Point, as well as Infected. Now, on Monday we talked about potentially maybe seeing a playlist simply for the Undead modes, in which it was sort of a mosh pit and you could have everything all in one. That's not how it turned out to be, unfortunately. I thought that would have been a very cool idea, but at the moment it's just double XP in each of the respective categories for those game modes. So you have to actually choose to go in and play Infected, Relic of the Undead, or Horde Point, to which it's not really all that much of a difference. It's just one of those things where if you want to kind of get all of them all in one sweep, you're not going to be able to go to one-stop shop in that single playlist. So again, they're all just individually as well, so that's something you can take a look at. Double XP though for the entirety of the week, up until the event ends this upcoming Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's something, of course, that is definitely very nice. Then let's talk a little bit about the orders and the contracts. So the orders, let's start with those ones in Major Howards. If you're looking at the weapon orders, those of course change out daily, but they are on rotation now. As of the past couple of days, we started to kick back into that initial rotation of weapons, and so it's probably going to cycle through all of them at some point. If you missed one here or there, don't worry, you'll have a chance at some point, and then probably going forward again, it'll repeat a couple of times throughout the life cycle of the game. But all the other dailies again change out daily, obviously. But then as for this week's, we end up having a 75 multi-kill as well as get 500 kills order for rare supply drops. But then we have one final undead bribe available weekly for winning 20 matches in any undead playlist. So whether that be something you grind out wins in terms of Infected, or it's Relic of the Undead, or Horde Point, doesn't matter. If you do any of those, you'll net yourself one of the undead bribes. Additionally, we have another undead bribe being available as of the 22nd, so that being Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's going to be in which you can complete 150 matches for a reward of 5 undead bribes. So that special order is going to be coming back, and what I would presume again in that special order location, not in a contract or in any other location such as swapping out the weekly, but instead you'll have the option once again for that 151 if you missed that. I personally did, so I'm going to try and grind it out. I don't know if I'll get that all in time by Tuesday, but we'll see what happens. As for the contracts, everything once again stays the same, except yesterday we did see that the weapon contract changed out, in which it went from the MG81 from last week up into the Sten for this week, which will again last until next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, in which for 4,000 armory credits and an hour 25 time frame, all you have to do is get 15 headshots with an SMG. So as we talk about all the time, these are very simple to complete, so you're essentially just paying outright for the weapon. So that's something that you can get. The Sten, if you don't have it already, is a great weapon. So if you want to go for it, definitely recommend it. Additionally, we also then end up seeing some stuff with the midweek mobilization as well as weekend mobilization, that weekend warfare. So starting as of today, lasting today, it's going to be party up double XP for Nazi zombies. So multiplayer doesn't really get anything here for this one. This is the first week out of the event we don't, and I think that's totally cool because we really have double XP the entirety of the week already. So we have a full week mobilization if you want to put it that way. So zombies gets that double XP in parties, and then this weekend warfare for June 22nd on Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, lasting until Monday the 25th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have triple feed XP in Infected, Horde Point, as well as Relic of the Undead. So for those of you guys that haven't played or don't know exactly what triple feed XP is, that's double XP for your soldier or character in your actual rank, double division XP, as well as double weapon XP. So all that's going to be available once again in those 3 game modes that we end up already seeing double XP in. So definitely going to be a great week to grind out the game for those of you guys that are interested. Now, the final thing really in just terms of the calendar of events, because we already completed the community challenge. If you guys don't know about that, if you haven't collected it already, you can get your emblematic charm in the mail station if you haven't logged on since then. That's simply where you can put your emblem on your charm, and it's something you can actually sport off as an in-game item. So it's kind of cool in that sense that it brings something the user created into the game more so than just a layer on a weapon or on a calling card or something like that. So it's very cool like that. But again, the next thing up and the final thing for the calendar events is that of the collections. They gave a nice little warning that says, hey, like, this is the last week, make sure you get anything you want here out of this before the collections lock up. Now, while personally I'm not a huge fan of the collections themselves locking up, because you can still get those items out of supply drops that work their way up to collections, but if it's after the event, even if you complete a collection, you won't get that top tier reward of, say, the PTRS or the one uniform in there, or the Nambu Type 2. Those will be locked up even if you end up completing those actual collections entirely after the event ends. So make sure you take advantage of the opportunity to get those done while you still have the chance to, if you want any of those ones. Of course, there are still going to be other variants of those weapons and things that you can get out of supply drops as is that aren't from those collections, so you're still going to have the opportunity to get those, but if you want one of those event-specific items, make sure that you get that while you have the chance. Now, as for other things, yesterday we ended up getting a little bit of an update once again to Call of Duty World War II. So this now we're going to talk about the actual changes in terms of gameplay and the mechanics that may have been fine-tuned a little bit here with yesterday's hotfix. It was only a playlist update, so all you had to do was restart your game. You didn't have to actually go in and download an actual update that would take up memory and massive space on your hard drive, but it is something that would require you to restart, so a smaller scale thing, but a change nonetheless. So let's start out with the more minor things here. Let's talk about a little bit of some hot fixes here, in which they ended up firstly rolling out phase 1 of restoring the ranked play MMR values to pre-bug fix values for affected players. So for those of you guys that played ranked play, you might have noticed that some of your matchmaking results weren't all that up to par. They weren't necessarily all that accurate, and therefore you got hit by it in the gameplay and matchmaking experience. So that was something that they started to roll out a fix for that. You should hopefully see that come back to normalcy. Then they also reduced the spawn frequency of the Tesla gun and multiplayer zombies modes for infected and horde point. Now, Relic was not mentioned, but it was something that Relic didn't really seem to drop the Tesla gun all that much from my experience. I don't know if you guys have had any different circumstances with it where you feel like you're being spammed with the Tesla gun, but for infected and horde point, it definitely got a little bit hectic and a little bit crazy to the point where sometimes I was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. I know that even I felt bad 2 days ago on stream. I dropped a V2 rocket with the Tesla gun in infected because it was just such a massive powerhouse of a weapon. The splash damage, as well as just the amount of damage overall, that radius is kind of insane. So it can take away from the fun that people have in it, so I'm glad to hear that it did get adjusted in that spawn frequency. But then we also end up seeing that we end up getting some weapon tuning, which is where this now starts to break into more interesting portions, I think. And it wasn't all that big of an update as I was expecting, but we still ended up getting 4 weapons tuned here and adjusted for us. So the first one, that being the Sten, and this is going to be pretty much across the board. All these have very similar adjustments to it, but the Sten had a slight fire rate buff given to it. So for those of you guys that played around the Sten, it got even better. So that's a nice little one that should already be a powerhouse, just got a little bit more stronger. Then additionally, the M2 carbine, which, apologies, I probably don't have any B-roll footage for this. This is the one actual ranged weapon that I don't have within the game. That was something that, again, got another slight fire rate buff to that. And if you're trying to predict what else is next, well, the M1A1 ended up also, you guessed it, getting a slight fire rate buff as well. So 2 of these being automatic, 1 being semi-automatic, and then the 4th and final weapon that we ended up getting actually did not have a slight fire rate buff to it. This instead being the Type 38, in which it had a slight ADS transition time and rechamber time nerf. So it's going to be a little bit slower on those air quote quick scoping maneuvers, but it is something that was adjusted additionally. And now the final thing, pending no stealth nerfs or buffs to anything, is something that deals a little bit with zombies, because we have a little final coup de grace for the Attack of the Undead event with zombies itself, in which this week is now dubbed Blunderbuss Week. So as it stands right now, what makes this Blunderbuss Week is the fact that we now spawn in on any map with a blunderbuss as the secondary weapon that we have available. So that's something that also, on top of that, you'll end up having your special ability meter filled up immediately also. So it's a cool little way to just jump in with a little extra firepower and something that, of course, is not necessarily anything too game-changing or game-breaking, but just a little way to have some more extra fun if you're a zombie slayer. So that's something that I think is a nice little way to cap cap off this event, especially for zombies, because while we had a little bit of a crossover there, we still saw a lot of that stuff primarily catering to the multiplayer community. So it's cool to see this kind of stuff having an effect on the community as well. So I'm definitely excited to see how well this plays out for anybody that does love some zombies. But ultimately, that is where we're at right now with this update that happened yesterday. So that's what everything that changed in the game is. And of course, I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Is there anything in particular that you really enjoyed out of this? Is there anything that you maybe would have said, I would have probably done this a little bit differently? Whatever it may be, feel free to let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. That said, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding Call of Duty World War II. DLC 3 is right on the horizon, so of course, anything that comes out regarding that, stick it right here up on the channel. We're going to keep you guys up to date with all things regarding that. So if you're excited like me, make sure you stick it here so you don't miss a single thing. And if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that's the best place to get connected from outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. And also, getting a little more active over on Instagram, posting a bunch of pictures there. So if you guys are into that, that link is also in the description below. But all that said and out of the way, hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you all so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.